welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be giving you guys the ultimate guide on how to get high tiers and exotics in Adopt Me. Now, if you're somebody with high tiers and exotics, you will want to check this video out just to see what best to look for to make the most profit on your trades. And if you're somebody that's looking to get high tiers and exotics, this is the perfect video to figure out how to. Now, I will say this is not a beginner level video, so if you don't have mid tiers yet, I recommend checking out my mid tiers video, which I will put in the card above, before checking out this video. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first tip is not to have too many pets in your offer. I see this mistake with a lot of high tier offers just because you have a lot of things in your offer, and that it is an overpay does not necessarily make it a good offer. So we can see here in this trade, right, for this mega balloon unicorn, there's a bunch of stuff, you can see there's like an owl and a frost dragon. That's a pretty good part of the trade, right? But the rest of the trade has like frostbite bears, dango penguins, turtles. This is a lot of items, but it is not necessarily a good trade because it's going to be really hard to trade these frostbite bears and dango penguins, especially for a profit, since dango penguins are constantly decreasing in value. And turtles, they're mid tiers, but they're not quite high demand from what I see, so they're quite hard to trade. So an offer like this will be very difficult for somebody to make a profit off of. So if you are the person with a mega balloon unicorn, you're not going to want to accept this offer, even though it is technically a win for you. But it's just so hard to trade these other items that you might actually have to take less value for these items, which would ultimately decrease this profit value that you're trying to look for. So if you have more than 6 items in your trade, I would recommend trying to consolidate certain pets. So for example, these dango penguins, trying to trade all of these for like one big ticket item instead of having 6 dango penguins. Same with the frostbite bears, because these 2 first items are actually pretty good, but seeing all these add-ons later is just going to make someone not want to accept the offer. Now, what can you do if you do have an offer like this and you don't want to trade any of your items away, you just want to do this specific offer, that's it? What you can do is overpay by a lot more. So people might see an offer like this and they're like, okay, I don't really want to do it. But if you overpay a lot more, so usually balloon unicorns get like a little bit of an overpay. So you can see here that this is a better offer, but their overpay is a lot less. So what you can do is overpay more than the typical amount, and you can see this person is like not doing that, which makes this offer a little bit like even worse. I'm not trying to make this person not get any trades. This is just for example purposes. But you can see the other person even paid by 0.04, which is a lot more than this overpay, and you can do a lot more with that trade than you can with this trade. So what I would recommend, if you don't want to trade any of the items that are already in your offer and you have not hit 18 pets, I think is the max amount, if you can overpay by significantly more, then you can have hard to trade pets in your trade. But if you do choose to do that, then you are going to be expected to overpay by a lot more than if you had more in-demand items in your offer. So I would recommend just adding more pets into this offer. Now, these overpays still cannot be like low balls. So you can't just add like a mega dragon and like a mega unicorn and stuff like that into this offer and expect it to be accepted. Rather, you can add like a bunch of mid tiers, or like, if you have like singles of like exotic pets, you can put that in there. Like, for example, if you have like only one Siamese cat, you can put that in there. Stuff like that. You can't put low values as ads because people don't, high tier owners and high tier exotic owners won't really consider that as a good ad, because if you're going to have lots of harder to trade pets here, not saying these are impossible to trade, but people who have high tier items want to like get rid of pets fast, okay? Like no patience, no wait time, so that's why they tend not to accept hard to trade pets. But if this person overpays by a lot more, I think the chances of their offer getting accepted will increase by a lot. So just be aware of that if you have hard to trade pets in your trade. Even something like this, which is technically an overpay, would not be sufficient, unfortunately. On the other hand, if your offer is like a lot of high tiers and a lot of high demand items, then do not overpay. So you can see this person is actually offering an underpay for the Mega Balloon Unicorn, and some people might do this trade because there's 2 Bat Dragons and a chocolate chip Bat Dragon, all of which are really relatively easy to trade, and Bat Dragons do tend to get quite good overpays. So even though the value itself is technically an underpay, you can make a profit from the 2 Bat Dragons. So you could turn it around to be an overpay. An example of this would be like when I traded my Mega Owl for Mega Balloon Unicorn and ads. The ads were pretty good that I could make a profit off of them, and therefore make that initial loss actually into a win. So just because it is a loss does not necessarily mean it. I know it's a little bit confusing, but think about it as if, let's say the Bat Dragon gets like 0.1 overpay each, then this is actually a 325 overpay with the chocolate chip Bat Dragon and the turtle, which also could get overpays. The chocolate chip, I know, probably can, because it is a Bat Dragon variant, and those tend to be quite popular. So do not just look at what the numbers say, but also look at demand. Also look at, can you make a profit, okay? So what I would recommend when looking at trades is look at the big ticket items. Then look at offers that people will make for them. Are people overpaying? How much are they overpaying? And then add that to the value of the offer, because that is the true value of the offer. And if you are this person with the Bat Dragon, you're playing it smarter, because you're saying, hey, the Bat Dragons can make a profit, so I am going to lowball a little bit and see if people will accept, because, you know, it is a very big ticket item. Now, I don't know for the Balloon Unicorn if I would have accepted this offer, just because Bat Dragons they were losing a lot of value, I think, due to certain boycotts. With like one pet having this much value, like people were boycotting it. So I don't know if I necessarily would do this offer, because it is I don't know if this is a loss I would be willing to take. But you can see how if you have big ticket, high demand, high value items, you're gonna want to underpay a little bit, because actually if you overpay, you're overpaying by a lot more than what the value calculator is telling you. So for example, when I traded for my Mega Owl, I traded like Mega Balloon Unicorn and a bunch of pet wares and a bunch of pets, and it actually totaled up to like 10 point something in value, when Mega Owl at the time was 9.75. But I didn't realize it at the time because Balloon Unicorn is an exotic, so it's not quite stable in value, and I ended up overpaying a lot more because I wasn't in tune with what was in demand, and its demand was rising, therefore its value is gonna rise. So you really have to pay attention to stuff like these when looking at trades, and that will give you the best outcome and make sure you don't lose any value in your inventory. Alright, now that we've gotten over some general rules of thumb, I'm going to be giving some more specific advice. These are just general tips and tricks to make your trade a lot more enticing. So the first one is exotics for exotics and high tiers for high tiers. Now this is not an ironclad rule, okay? Some people will trade high tiers for exotics and some people will trade exotics for high tiers. They're not set in stone, but people who are looking for high tiers tend to want high tier pets. So for example, when I was looking for my mega owl, I saw a lot of trades where people with mega owls were looking for like shadow dragons, bat dragons, frost dragons, that kind of stuff, whereas they were not necessarily looking for a mega balloon unicorn. So I had a harder time trying to get somebody to accept my offer, especially because people with high tiers tend to think that exotics are very unstable, so they might not want to invest in that. But I would beg to differ, but that is my own opinion. And then conversely, people with exotics, they might have a certain aesthetic. They want cute pets, so they only want to look for exotics. And so if you're trying to trade between one or the other, you're going to have a more difficult time, but it is not impossible. But if you want to have an easier time, try to stay in one category over the other. So if you are looking for exotics, then trade for exotics. If you are looking for high tiers, then trade for high tiers. Now, the next tip I have is do not act desperate. Now, this is, I know, something that can be very difficult if this pet is your dream pet and you just want to have like that pet, you know, you're like, I'm willing to overpay by a ton. Do not show it though, because certain people with high tiers especially, or with high tier exotics, they will take advantage of the fact that you really want this pet and they might make you overpay by a lot more than you should. For example, when I was trying to get my mega owl, I overpaid by so much and I lost a lot of value in my inventory because I was so desperate to get my dream pet. And I don't want you guys to have to pay more than you should. And always keep in mind, high tiers, high tier exotics, there are so many of them in many different trading servers. There's so many people trading them. If one person does not accept the trade, there will always be a next person. And you know, if a lot of people are not accepting, I would reevaluate your trade and see what can be changed. But just be patient. Do not act desperate. People will take advantage of that. So the next tip I have is that high tier values are not the same across neons, megas, and normals. So what do I mean by this? You can see here in this trade that a mega parrot is worth 5.7 and a neon parrot is already worth 2.04. Why is that the case, you might ask? Because it takes 4 neon parrots to make a mega parrot. This is because people like neon parrots more than mega parrots. They like that the wing color is like 3 different neon colors. So the demand for a neon parrot is actually higher. Whereas mega parrots are actually a lot harder to trade. I used to have a mega parrot, so I would know it was extremely difficult to trade and the demand for it is not very high. Another example of this would be the evil unicorn. It is considered a high tier, but actually when you get to the megas, evil unicorn is not very sought after. So I would say definitely double check, you know, just because a neon version of the pet is valuable does not necessarily mean the mega version is valuable, and I would highly recommend checking values before you decide to do a trade. I know that a lot of people say values are arbitrary, they're not concrete, they're manipulated by people, which those things are true, but if other people do use those values, then you kind of have to conform, or else no one's going to accept your trade. and I don't want you guys to get taken advantage of, and I don't want you guys to have to overpay more than you have to. So the next tip I have is for in general. If you want to get rich, it's better to have lots of pets than have one really good pet. So what do I mean by this? I could theoretically have a mega owl. I know I keep using this example, but it's just based on my own personal experience. I could theoretically have a mega owl, or I could have a mega balloon unicorn and a bunch of ads. Why would I want the mega balloon unicorn and a bunch of ads, you may ask? That is because, let's say Mega Owl drops in value. Now suddenly the only best pet I have in my inventory lost like 0.2 in value. Okay, now my whole inventory tanked 0.2 in value. Whereas if I have a bunch of pets, if one pet loses value, I can still trade the other pets. If Mega Balloon Unicorn loses value, I can trade the ads, and so on and so forth. Now, if a bunch of those pets tank in value, you're gonna lose a lot more. But conversely, if a bunch of those pets rise in value, then you're gonna win a lot more. If every single add-on rose by like 0.01, that is still a lot bigger of a gain than if Owl by itself rose by 0.01. So if you have diversity, it's going to help, especially if one particular pet just tanks in value, because values are like the stock market and nothing is very stable now. So I would recommend having a lot of, or a multitude of good pets, or have one big ticket item and then a couple like mid tiers. This is also really helpful if you get attached to your pets and you're like, I don't want to trade them. Then, if you have one really good pet that you're really attached to, and then you have a bunch of mid tiers, then you can trade those mid tiers and get wins, okay? Because the thing about getting rich is that you should never hold on to a pet for too long. Unfortunately, it is how it is now, because if you hold on to a pet for too long, by the time you finally want to trade it, it might have lost the value that it gained when you initially overpaid for it, and now you're making a loss. So this just really helps if you get attached to your pets, or if you just don't want to take too big of a hit if like that one big thing in your inventory just loses value and now you're gonna have a hard time trading it, all that good stuff. Another tip I have is certain pets have certain seasons. So right now we are in summer, and Balloon Unicorn and a bunch of exotics are very hyped up right now. It is also probably because a lot more players have returned to Adopt Me, so these high tier pets are going to rise a lot because there's just a much larger market for them now. Whereas in the winter, Frost Dragon will rise, Arctic Reindeer will rise, Hedgehogs will rise, because those are winter pets and people will want those pets, Peppermint Penguins, stuff like that. So if you want to make the least amount of loss as possible, then you do not want to trade for a pet that is currently in its season. So, I wouldn't trade for a Frost Dragon in the winter. I wouldn't trade for a Balloon Unicorn right now, although I don't know if it necessarily has a season, but like Ice Cream Hermit Crab, for example, that's a summer pet for sure, and it's going to drop value once the summer season is over. So what you want to do is trade for pets when it's not their season, and if you want to trade your pet, then trade it during its season. So if I have an Ice Cream Hermit Crab, I would have traded it at the beginning of summer because that was when its value was peak. Now, my final tip, this is just a very small, minute detail, but I noticed that some people forget this and it actually does them not any favors. So what you want to do is put the best parts of your trade first. So I see a lot of people forget, or like maybe they're panicking when they're trading a rich person and they just throw in anything. That's not the best because rich people do not have patience, okay? They can see within the first 3 pets if they even want to consider your offer. And if you are choosing to put the worst parts of your trade first, then that's the impression they're gonna get. They're gonna think it's a joke. They're not gonna want to sit through the entire trade because why would they? Now, doesn't apply to everybody. I tend to look at the entire trade before I decide to decline, but really the first 3 pets of your trade set the tone for how this trade is going to be. So put your best pets in the trade, that will get their intrigue, that will get them to want to stick around and look at your entire offer. Now, if you are somebody with like a lot of pets in your trade, this will also hurt you a little bit because people, again, are not very patient. So that's why I'd say don't have too many pets in your offer, because people don't want to stick around for too long. I know it's a little bit confusing because I literally told you should have more pets rather than one really good pet, but it is to an extent. So for example, if somebody trades me like 1,000,000 dogs for a mega balloon unicorn, theoretically it is a big win. It's 1,000,000 dogs, but people do not want to downgrade that much because it is going to be really hard to build back up from there. So I'd say the sweet spot is 4 to 6 pets. That is usually a really good, healthy why did I say healthy? It's a really good trade standard. But yeah, that is all of my tips and tricks. I hope you guys found this useful. If you guys have high tiers and exotics and you guys are like, I want to trade this, then this is also really helpful for you to look at and see which trades are actually worth your time. And of course, if you are trying to trade for your dream pet that's a high tier or high tier exotic, then I hope these tips can make you spruce your trade up to make it better, because sometimes it's not what's wrong with your trade. It's not even, that your trade is not good, but that the way you frame it, it's what sells your trade. And I hope that can be really useful. Thank you guys for staying until the end of this video. I am really, really appreciative for anyone that has stuck by, even though I was taking an extremely long break. And here's a little secret: my background is actually animated and drawn by me. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!